Now that I have a list of users, my next step is to try and find a program that will take this list of users and a list of possible passwords and try these combinations against the email server that I'm targeting. In the Hacking for Beginners course, we saw Nmap, but we've seen a very small part of Nmap and what it does. We only saw how we can use it to do port scanning. There's a lot more to Nmap than just port scanning. For example, Nmap has a lot of scripts attached to it. These are basically small programs that we can use to scan for some vulnerabilities, do password attacks, and a whole bunch of other things. These scripts, usually on Kali, live under /user/share/nmap/scripts. If I do an ls on that directory, look at the massive output that I have. All of these are scripts that I can use, but I'm not interested in all of them. What I want is a script that would brute force the users that I have. In other words, I want a script that I'm going to feed these users and it will go and try different passwords until it hopefully manages to successfully get access to one of the users. So let me use the piping now and see how that looks like. I'm going to take the output from the ls command and feed it to the less command. We've seen the less command before when we were looking at text files. Remember? Instead of using the cat command and scrolling up and down and getting lost in the huge amount of text on our screen, we used the less command, which allowed us to scroll up and down using the arrow keys or the page up, page down, and so on. I'm going to use that to control the output of the ls command. And to do that, I'm going to be using the pipe. And now look at that. I can easily control the output of the ls command. Instead of having a huge dump on my screen that looks a bit confusing, I can go up and down and try to find a program that will help me in brute forcing the users. But that's not a very efficient way of doing that. Now is the time where I introduce you to one of my absolute favorite commands in Linux. Hands down, this is one of the most favorite tools that I use on Linux, and it's called the grep command. To put simply, grep is a tool that takes a keyword that you give it to and tries to find that text in any output or file or anything really. So instead of using the less command, I'm going now to do grep, and the keyword I'm using is brute. So now I'm going to take all the output that I get from the ls command, feed it into grep as input, and grep is going to look at all the output, find the word brute, and only displays the words or the lines that have brute in them. Look at that. A lot less output and more specific output to what I want. Now it's much easier for me to go through the list and try and find out if there's a script or a program that would help me in brute forcing the accounts on a mail server. So I go through the list, up and down, and here we go. Look at that. SMTP brute. SMTP is the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. I can use that to target the users on the mail servers. Brilliant. Excellent use of the grep command combined with the ls command. Now, I have a list of users. I have the program that I'm going to use. All I need to do is define the IP addresses that I'm going to be targeting. I look at my targets list. And that is one huge list. Let me count how many IP addresses I have. I can do that using wc-l and the file name, and it tells me I have 81 entries. So I have 81 IP addresses. So I want to break this down a little bit further. Let's have another look. Lucky for me, it looks like there are only two classes of IP addresses, the 10.10.10 and 10.10.22. So practically speaking, if I want to scan all those in one go, that's going to take ages. I'll probably sit around for hours waiting for the scan to finish, and that's not what I want to do. Ideally, I want to run 2 or 3 scans in parallel while I continue my work. Hopefully the scans will finish faster. I can come back to them and carry on with my work. So what I want to do is I'm going to split this list into 2 target lists, the 10.10.10 and the 10.10.22. To do that, I'm going to use the grep command again, and I'm going to say grep 10.10.10. So 10.10.10 is my keyword. Where am I looking for this? I'm looking for it in the targets.txt. I hit enter, and now I have a beautiful list of only the 10.10.10 IP addresses. Great. Now, obviously, I want to save that in a file. So I use the redirection that we saw earlier, and I save those in tens.txt file. Now I have a list of the 10.10.10s. So let's say I finished scanning all my targets, and they're all combined in the output.nmap and output.gnmap file. Let's have a look at these files and understand what's the difference between them. I'm going to do a less on the output.nmap, and this is a beautifully formatted output where I can see the different IPs in separate sections. Under every IP, I have the open ports, and then I move on to the next IP and the next IP and so on. So this is ideal if I want to have a quick look at the output file. The gnmap, however, is called gnmap for greppable nmap. In other words, this is the file that I can use in conjunction with the grep command. If I look at it, the formatting of the file is completely different. Each entry is on a different line, there's a lot of slashes, and it's formatted in what seems to be an odd way. However, the way this is formatted makes it very easy for me to find specific information I'm looking for using the grep command. These are, by the way, practical examples of things that I do in my day-to-day work. Let me show you what I mean. If I do grep 25/open, this is the keyword that I chose to look for from the greppable nmap file. Now I'm looking for TCP port 25 that is open on any of the IP addresses. This is the TCP port for SMTP. So if this port is open, chances are very, very high that my target is a mail server. So if I do grep 25/open on the gnmap file, I have a long list of all the IP addresses with the open port 25. Beautiful. I need to clean this up a little bit more though. I only want the IP addresses because this is what I need to give the brute force script from nmap. I can't give it all this junk that I'm seeing right now. I want to extract the second column with the IP addresses. To do that, I'm going to use a pipe, and I'm going to take that output that you see on the screen right now, and I'm going to feed it to the cut command. The cut command will cut a particular section of the output based on certain parameters that I define. The first parameter is the D for delimiter. The delimiter can be anything I choose. It could be a space, it could be a colon, it could be a slash, it could be whatever I choose. In this scenario, I'm choosing the delimiter to be a space. So between these double quotes, this stands for space. This is why it's empty. So if you look at the output on my screen, there's a number of spaces. After host, colon, there's a space. Then you have the IP addresses, there's a space. There's hackersacademy.com, there's a space. There's ports, colon, there's a space. So I want the output before the second space, which is the IP address. And this is the field. So I use the -F and I tell cut, look at the second field. So now the cut command is looking for the second space and taking the second field before the second space. If I hit the enter key, this cuts out the list of IP addresses. Beautiful, excellent. But now notice that I have a lot of replicas. I have a lot of IP addresses that are being repetitive for whatever reason. Maybe my output get messed up, maybe I saved it wrongly, it doesn't matter. What I want to do right now is I want to sort this list and I want to remove all the duplicate entries. So I'm going to reuse the same command and I'm going to use yet another pipe. So now I have the output from the grep command piped into cut. Cut will do its thing on it, and then it will produce the output that we just saw on the screen. That output, I'm going to take it and I'm going to pipe it into a third command, this time the sort command. The sort command, as the name says, will sort out my IP addresses in an ascending order. And I'm going to use that with the -U option. The -U says unique. So if you have any duplicate entries, any duplicate IP addresses, those will be removed. And look at that. Perfect. A short list of 5 IP addresses with port 25 open. Now I can take that output and I can save it in a file using the command redirection. And I'm going to just call it 25-open.txt. Brilliant. Now I have the components and the ingredients of my attack ready. I have a list of usernames. I have a list of IP addresses with port 25 running, which possibly means that they are mail servers. And I have the nmap script or program that's going to take these usernames and try them against all these IP addresses and see which one it can successfully log into. And I did all that using a combination of some tools that we've seen previously and some new tools that we saw now in a very efficient manner. Now, if you think about this process and how you could do that, say on Windows, for example, you realize that it's much more challenging to have done that. And this is one of the main reasons why Linux is a preferred operating system for ethical hackers. So here's your mission for this section. Use grep to find and sort unique IP addresses with port 80 open. Do the same thing for port 22. Use grep again to find and sort unique IP addresses with port 22 open. You'll have the output.g nmap file available for you to download. Download it and complete your mission. Once you're done and ready, we can move on to the next section.